Oh, very interactive audience. I like that. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jenna Noah. One goal I have for today and our time together is to have this workshop be pretty interactive. Yeah? So it's not just me disseminating intellectual ideas and information, because my hunch is you are going to get a lot of that over this weekend. But that this may be a space that we can explore together. Explore our bodies individually, and explore the people in which you're going to be working with. My favorite way of practicing therapy is really being able to connect deeply to our own bodies as therapists. I had somebody ask me in the hall, she was asking me, is this like using your body on another body? This is not massage therapy training. But if you want to do that, I'm sure you can find it somewhere in the hall of the floor. So this accessing the body is a little different than dance therapy or than a movement therapy. But it's actually accessing yourself, the self of the therapist. Accessing internally your very own states, and also being able to access the bodies of others, of the people you're working with. As we've been talking a lot about pain and suffering, and I reflect back on my own life, I think the deepest challenges that I've experienced have been from attempts to avoid my pain, right? Attempts to avoid my suffering. And I tried so hard. When I was very young, I struggled with a number of different challenges. Eating disorders. Other people struggle with addictions, alcoholism, right? And I think all of these things, these symptoms we see, are an effort to avoid pain. And today what we're going to be talking about is how that pain shows up in your physical body in a felt sense way. So this way of practicing therapy is a way in which we are invited to stay very close to our own experience. There's a tendency or a way in which we can sort of jump over into the client's seat. We want to know all about them and fix their problems and make it better, and we will hold this role as a professional and they remain a client. And in reality, that's not really what happens, right? We are having our own human experience simultaneous to the client that we're working with. We are having physical reactions all the time. Something they may say may bring us to the verge of tears. Something else they may say may shock us, because the values of the client, who they realize, are very different than our own. And this is the lived experience of therapy. Right? What I've come to realize is that each time a client of mine does a large piece of work meaning they've done something, they've dug into a place that was quite hard for them, they've found meaning, and they've gone through a process with me holding witness, holding space, right? I realize I go through that process too with them. And this is why I'm a therapist. It's not so I can fix people or make them better, but so I can humbly be on the ride with them, on the journey alongside them. And in that way, every piece of work they do impacts me quite deeply in a really meaningful way. And that's why I decided to do this practice personally, right? And you may all be here for different reasons. You may come to the table of therapy, as Mark Yang was talking about, from this exploration of your own madness, of our own, we're all mad, right? I love that. We come here to explore our own minds in conjunction with the other. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about how this shows up in the body. For the body, a little bit of existential view, talking a little bit about trauma, and then a lot of the things that I'm discussing are seated in a practice, a therapeutic practice in America called Hakomi, which is a body-based practice. And so just to give you a lens, I didn't come up with all these brilliant ideas. I'll be talking a little bit about the internal maps that we create, the maps that show up in our own system, the maps that people have in their own body, physical maps, right? So every memory, every trauma, the idea is that it actually gets stored physically in a tangible way in our bodies. And if we're unconscious about these maps, these traumas that are stored in here, we can be acting out of them. Even long after the event has passed, the trauma may still be guiding us, some of our decisions, some of the people that we, the fears that we have, the choices we have to interact with certain people and not others, based on a history, or a projection, or assumption, is stored in our bones and our skin long, long ago. And so this modality is a way of sort of seeing some of those unconscious maps and bringing them to light, making them conscious, so then there can be a choice. Right? You choose to act this way, or there's maybe more knowledge to act possibly a different way, if you want to. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about emotional integration, integrating the way that that happens in our system, in our physical body, and a way of moving towards what many of our clients, possibly many of you, I know I have mentioned a little bit of my own, the things in which there is a reaction to avoid a little bit, and how when things get hard and scary, to keep showing up for ourselves, to keep showing up for our clients, and to keep moving towards what can feel a little bit uncomfortable. So in this view, the body is a primary access point to the self. And really intellectual forms of therapy, right? Talk therapy. Sometimes people can talk and talk and talk and talk. And they keep talking. And often it can be very challenging to get to the root of what's really happening, right? Somebody may say to you, come into your office and say, I'm having a great day. Right? And if you just listen to the words, you just listen to the content, possibly you'll believe them. But this is a fine-tuned way of tracking the body in which you can see facial expressions. You can see what isn't being said. You can see what it means and discover with the client. What does it mean when they're holding themselves really tightly like this, arms across the chest? What is that actually saying? What are the arms saying to the person? What are the arms saying to you as the therapist? All of those things can become part of the conversation for deeper layers of meaning. And some of these unconscious habits we have, you know, things that make us quite comfortable. I know for me, one thing I do is sometimes I'll just massage my neck. I'll be mid-lecture, just massaging my neck. And it can be quite unconscious. But I think what my hands are probably trying to say to my body is like, it's okay, you got this. Final stretch after lunch. I can keep paying attention, you know. And so it's kind of learning about some of those fine-tuned things that we each do to maybe protect us, to take care of us, to soothe us, and what they mean. Becoming conscious of both the physical body, but also, as Jason was talking earlier, about some of these internal aspects of pain. You know, pain isn't just being cut under the knee as a child. Pain is deeper, and the sensations that we feel in our physical body can be quite painful. And I know, in the very beginning, it was very scary for me to see my clients in pain. Very scary to see someone crying and sobbing in front of me and not knowing what to do. And there's a tendency when you're scared and you want to be helping someone, that you actually will want to prevent them from crying, potentially. You know, some certain types of emotions can be more challenging for each of us. And then the task becomes, even as you're feeling some of this anxiety come up, for whatever reason it's coming up, how do you hold space to allow the client to be in the process? How do you stay close to yourself? Acknowledge the ways in which you're shutting down and opening up. You're not really even trying to fix or change yourself, just noticing and being aware of the ways in which our bodies are contracting, to allow the client to have a full experience, a full process. So this real-time example is going to say, how am I? I'm feeling less nervous than I often can feel presented. I feel a little tightness in my throat right now. I feel a lot of excitement. I I feel conscious that maybe I'm moving a little too fast. I want to be sure that we're at the same pace together. So that's real time, right? It's like, how are we feeling right now in this moment? And being able to come back to that over and over and over again as a barometer, as a barometer for truth. And so I was in a conversation with a colleague recently, and he said, truth, you can't trust your body. You can't trust your body. The thing I can trust is that this tightness is telling me something. I can trust that. I don't know about thoughts. I don't know if I can trust my thoughts. The thought that I'm moving too fast, is that true? Can you raise your hand if that's a true thought? Oh, see, I tricked myself. And I think we all do this in different ways. We may be making assumptions or assuming things that are coming from maybe just this tightness in my throat. The truth isn't the thought, it's the tightness that's there, and it's trying to tell me something. And if I stay close to it, I may discover deeper meaning, and it may be that it changes or transforms. But it's not until you acknowledge it and stay with it does it even have the potential to really quite change. It's a way of really self-examining, turning inwards towards yourself, and also being an example for your client. Some clients I have a hard time sharing even if they're sad. And I'll be in the therapeutic seat and they'll be telling me a story that's quite sad. I had a client recently telling me a story about being sexually abused, and she was laughing as she was telling it. She was telling it quite quickly. And I think the laughter and the speed was allowing her to not really feel the depth of feeling underneath that. And sometimes that's wise, right? Sometimes our bodies don't want us to feel things right away because we don't have the space or the capacity to quite digest that experience just yet. And so one piece of this, as you're going towards, is if you go straight towards something and somebody's very resistant, you must also trust the resistance in a certain way. So it's not like there's sadness, we're going into it, we're like hack picks, going, digging down the mine shaft. But it's more, I have a desire to go towards this. What do you think about that? The client might say, I'm finally ready to do that. The client might say, I'm not quite ready to do that. And I say, okay, let's explore the resistance. And often in exploring that resistance, the client then engages or wants to then do that work with you, alongside you. So it's a practice of being with exactly what is, right? What is coming up in the moment? How are you noticing that resistance in your body? What does it feel like? Are you noticing a contraction? Where is it? What color is it? How big is it? How heavy is it? What does it feel like? Where is it located? When you stay with it, what happens? What does it want to do, right? So you're really inviting in the wisdom and the intelligence of the physical system to tell you where to go and how to go there. You're inviting pain in to be a teacher of sorts, a pathway through, an instructor of how to do that work, what the system needs. And so in existential psychology, there's a lot of talk about suffering and meaning making. And this path, there seems to be, in my experience, a great deal of meaning that clients get when they can finally access some of these harder emotions, some of these more shadowy, potentially embarrassing places that are challenging, or there may be a lot of shame, right? And often in moving towards the shame, they're able to work through it and not be alone in it. They have you alongside them. But the challenging part for the therapist is that often you're experiencing this with them. Right? You're not trying to fix, change. You're trusting the brilliance of this body, of this system, the intelligence of this body to know exactly what it needs and exactly how to do what it does. And so the invitation today for each of you as therapists, a little bit harder, I think, is to trust your own bodies too. To trust your own process, to trust your own learning, and to learn to really trust your own intelligence. Each of you have, what it takes to do this work, and do this work quite well. And I think part of the beauty of the journey is discovering that. Bob Edelstein states, the existential humanistic perspective is based on the belief that there is mind-body integration. Thus, it is valuable to have clients check for body sensations behind their storyline, and this facilitates them in being more present in their body in the moment. Before being at Saybrook, my education, my master's degree was in contemplative psychology, so a more mindfulness-based psychology. And their thought is that often in running these storylines, we're being taken away from the present moment, what's happening right now. And there is a really sweet piece around body-based intervention and body-based knowing that it's happening right here, right now, in relationship, in the present moment. The stories that take us off into the future or back into the past. And often it's hard to really do the juicy, real work in those places. So I spoke a little bit about memory earlier. And so I'm going to go back to it here. So has anyone ever, when you were a child, do you remember having an injury, falling down? Yeah? Skimming your knee, maybe? Yeah? Maybe being in a car accident. Has anyone ever been in a car accident? Yeah? Falling off a bike? That's okay? Yeah. And so, if you remember in your system, or maybe even still now, if you've been in an accident and you fall off a bicycle, how hard is it to get back on the bicycle the next time? Oh, so hard. Right? If you've been in a relationship where something has been taken away from you or violated, how hard is it to engage again in relationship? And part of that is that the body remembers. The body has a way of wanting to keep us safe. And it remembers, oh, last time I was on that bicycle, I was going for the durian fruit, and bam! Fell. Right? And then maybe it's not even just the bicycle. The fear of the bicycle, maybe it's the fear of the durian fruit. Oh, if I go back to the durian stand, I might fall. These interesting associations start to happen. And those associations in some ways are trying to keep us safe. And in other ways can really keep us small. And so it's starting to discover this map that happens, these ways in which contractions are stored and held. So these are autonomic responses based on memory. They're stored in our skin, and this map is generally unconscious. Right? If I have no idea where I go to the durian stand, I'm afraid. What's going on? So it's a task of therapists in this model to uncover the unconscious patterns from which the client is operating from. And I would add here to uncover the unconscious patterns in which we, as therapists, are operating from. When you see an angry client, does it remind you of your father? Right? These are things to become really aware of and to begin to explore in ourselves. Well, this isn't just, this is based also on brain research and the ways that the body integrates trauma. So I want to show you, I'm going to show you a little example of the brain. Here we go. Maybe you guys can do this with me. You do this? Yeah? Okay, so this first hand here, this is going to be our frontal cortex. It's like some midbrain here. And down here we have brainstem. Okay? So this is the older part of our brain, the more animal part, reptilian part, they'll even say. And the frontal cortex up here, this is the part that has to do with planning, decision-making, operating, making choices, getting through the world. And so when you're being triggered and a traumatic event comes back up, oftentimes it feels like the event is actually happening. And so this part goes offline, right? Frontal cortex, you can just take it offline. And we're left here with this, which is animal, fast, decision-making, fight or flight, survival. Okay, and you'll notice this in your clients. They'll be breathy, they'll be perspirating, and it's almost as if they're telling you that they're living it again. And they're living it again in a quite real way in their bodies. It feels as though, when I go to smell the durian and I'm falling again, it's just so automatic. And we don't even know what's going on. That this trauma is being re-evoked. Some of these are the responses. The heart rate will pulse, dilated pupils, dry mouth, knots in the stomach. All of these responses start to get activated. And in this model, we would say then that this becomes the space of opportunity. Right? And this reenactment or this arriving of some of these really challenging sensations, there becomes an opportunity for the body to physically find completion where there wasn't completion. To physically finish an uncompleted defense. So if that was falling, maybe that was physically the body's swerving the other direction. Or maybe that was protecting the fall. Allowing us to complete uncompleted defenses. This can show up in several different ways. Often for clients that I have when they're retelling a challenging story, I think the fear becomes, well, often people will say, if I start crying, what if I never stop crying? Right? If I grieve that, what if it never ends? And so in this way, you become sort of a pathfinder with the person. You're walking with them into some of these darker territories, and you're seeing what is to be discovered there, what the wisdom is there, and there's actually in this model a chance to complete incomplete experiences. So completions can look like a number of different things. In this model for me, I'm going to offer one case example. I had a client who was discussing a certain form of really of sexual abuse. So first, as she's sharing the story, she was very concerned about my judgments and feelings. She said to me, like, do you think this is even worth being afraid of? Do you think this is like, it's okay for me even to be angry? You know, in some way she was really worried that I was going to be invalidating her experience. In that moment I said to her, of course, I'd be angry too. I'm angry for you. I'm feeling the anger in my body right now, because I was. As she was telling the story, I was like so angry. I'm like, this person did what? And he said what afterwards? I think he had said something, her persecutor said something afterwards, like blamed her for something, I don't know. It's quite angry and aggressive. And so I was feeling activated and angry. And in that way, me accessing my body and saying to her, I'm actually feeling incredibly angry. That's just real. That's like what I'm feeling right now. It gave her validation for the anger that she had not quite accessed yet. Right? So first step, me turning towards myself saying, oh, that makes me so angry. I'm so angry for you. I'm so angry this happened to you. And she's like, yeah, I'm feeling angry too. Right? Because there's a certain exchange that can happen in this way. As one person starts feeling things and accessing their bodies, other people can also, in a therapeutic relationship, also access them. And so then what we did was we worked on completion. This uncompleted event, like if you are they talk about this, Peter Levine will talk about this very often. He'll say, if there's a rabbit running from a lion, right, little mini trauma, the rabbit's gonna die, the lion's chasing after it. The rabbit, what it'll often do when it finally gets out on its own is it'll shake. It'll just shake, 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 shake. And that's it releasing physically the trauma from its body. Shake, 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 go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Right? And so that wiggling and that shaking is actually the animal's like biological system releasing the tension of the trauma. And so often in these experiences, trauma happens in isolation, generally, and something is generally taken from you that you are not willing to give. It's taken from you without you wanting it to be taken, right? And then often, I think, for us, we don't have this shake, 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 shake. And so we go to therapy. And so there's a way in which going into these experiences, you can actually allow people to complete the defense, to complete the uncompleted experience that they would have wanted, that they would have needed, that would have supported them. And so in this place, this client, I gave her a few options. I said, what would you have wanted to say to this person? Going back and remembering it, actually physically remembering the event. She's telling me the story, but very, very, very slowly. Right? And this is after maybe 7 sessions, so I know her quite well. It's not day one. This is over time after safety has been established, a lot of resources have been established, and many times of her almost telling me the story and stopping, and me not having any agenda about that, She'd say, I almost want to tell you something, but I'm feeling afraid. And I said, well, let's listen to that fear. What does that fear have to say? Right? These resistances are there for a reason. So it's not that I'm jumping into this process without her will. She is the one who's guiding it, letting me know now is the time to go this direction, after a lot of support. And so as we started to explore, and we explored what is the thing that you wish you could have said. So I wish I could have said, get off of me, go away. No. And I saw her body just doing a little bit of this. And I said, what if you amplify that? What if you allow yourself to amplify that? I gave her the option to actually put pressure up against my hand or a pillow or the wall. Right? So she has the option to actually interact with me between a pillow, or she chose to interact with the wall. So I have no sense of feeling around what's right or wrong in terms of that type of thing. But I do know that this is like what her body was wanting to do, was to push away. And so she went up against the wall like this, and she's yelling. And I have a shared office space with a therapist. Right, so sometimes I'm a little, I wonder what they think, but I haven't been told I can't do the work that I do yet, so. She's pushing against the wall and she's saying, get off of me, get away from me. And she's allowing her body to physically push through and create the defense that was incomplete. Pushing. I said, do you want to push more? And she said, yes. I'm like, can you push harder? And I'm sitting with her. I'm standing right next to her as she's pushing and pushing. And I'm with her and I'm like, I just want you to know that I'm here with you as you're doing this. And that pushing can lead what led to her was a form of total relaxation. Her body knew when she was done. Like, are you feeling done? Yeah. Totally relief of the system. I'm feeling done. We're good. We're relaxed. And then we go back to our couch, right? Back over to our seating area. And we talk about what is the significance of this for you? What is the meaning? She starts to realize, like, I wish I could have said these things then, and I couldn't. And I can have them now. And her body can reform its own way of finding safety. The other piece about this is pretty cool. This is particularly in when working with trauma. There's this idea that one trauma is often related to many others, or one piece of pain work is connected like a little grape, not like grapes. And so in doing some of the work, you'll often find that your clients will be able to do work in other areas too. One person on break asked me a little bit about, navigating the tension that arises when someone's expressing a lot of intense pain, and the fear that can come up. In response to that, right? And so the fear that can come up when there's a lot being processed for fear that might actually hurt somebody and not be a benefit for them. And in response to that, I just really invite you to consider like the times in your life that you've been through something really, really hard, or really, really challenging, something that's been, almost catastrophic in its impact, and the meaning that you've been able to make out of that pain. You guys have experiences that have been challenging in that way, that you've learned a lot from, right? And so it's giving your clients the opportunity to also have those gems, those wisdoms, those jewels from those really challenging experiences. Allowing them to glean those pearls that are hard-earned and come from a lot of work and a lot of going into the process. And so if you notice in your own body as a therapist that those tightnesses come up or those tensions come up, then what? How to relate and continue to give yourself compassion, love, kindness towards these places that are hard for us, and stay with the client and trust the client's experience. This happens not right away, but often over time. It takes time and time again, and I still notice some tension and some fear of going forward sometimes when I'm working with my clients. But I've found that time and time again that is where the most wisdom is. It's not just words. It's not just people saying, like, go towards your pain, go towards your suffering. There's so many existentialists here that are saying the same thing. But it's actually a real reality that in going towards those experiences that are scary, that are dark, that are hard, that the lessons and the deep meaning really comes. And I think you only begin to learn that by taking small risks, and doing things that might be a little bit frightening for you. Holding this understanding in a larger view. So we have a quote up here by Ron Kurtz. Ron Kurtz is a body-based psychotherapist, and in my mind, a real existentialist. This is quite a long quote, but I'll read it slowly. So it says, as a psychotherapist, one of my tasks is to help people learn to contain without repression, and it's to hold without pushing it away. How to express themselves without being moved into extremes. I help people bring up painful memories into their awareness, and these often come with them very strong emotions. When this happens, I help the person experience those emotions without letting them completely hijack their mind and body, without the emotion, letting the emotion completely take over. Holding them in this way helps the person to understand them and also to make sense of what brings them forth. And with this, resolution and change become possible. An uncontained process will more likely reinforce the pattern. Mental and emotional healing starts with accepting that emotional pain is part of life, that it needs attention and comforting. And the pain, if we give it time and attention, will tell us what to do. It's my favorite part there. The pain, if we give it time and attention, will tell us what to do. So it's letting the person's body, the person's system actually guide us and guide the session and guide the understanding. It's a collaborative process. It's not a process where a therapist is the one that's on the way telling the client how to be, how to feel, what's happening. Oh, I understand that this is probably about your mother. This is actually allowing the client to search in themselves, to sense these sensations, and to find the meaning within them. So we just did an exercise, and it was just beginning tracking experience. And some people noticed that was like quite hard, that the clients maybe didn't want to go towards their feelings. They'll feel it for a second, and they'll start to talk about other stories, and it can be quite hard to kind of guide the person back. But it's also not hard just because of the client, it's hard because of the sensations that it brings up in us, the discomfort we start to notice in our own system. And so this is a really process of inviting all experience to the table, all challenge, all difficulty, all emotion, everything's invited. All of it is welcome. All of it is important and useful for learning. Monet says, the purpose of psychotherapy is to set people free. In this way, pain becomes a path to freedom. It's this age-old adage that the only way out is through. It's turned directly into the heart of what is challenging and what can scare us. What I find about this process is that once the traumatic event is processed, there's a brand new internal map created. And so the person who falls off the bicycle, after that work is done and they've reprocessed it, they're no longer afraid necessarily of the durian. Or maybe they notice their fear, but they don't avoid durian shots altogether. They continue to go back to taste the sweet fruit. Maybe some of you don't like durian. I found I love it actually. In our bodies, there are quite literally internal maps of people in our systems. So we have in our brains this type of neuron called a mirror neuron. And the only task of the mirror neuron is to actually have the thing that you're seeing, show up in your own system. And so when you're seeing someone cry, your neurons are firing in your own body as a map of that person physically crying. Some of the tasks of the therapist is to stay close to the self of the therapist. And another task is to actually see how the client physically shows up in your own body, right? So you see me standing here, and you start to notice your own system. And just notice how I'm arriving for you in your own body. What do you sense? What is your sense of me? What do you notice physically inside yourself? If you were to be just sort of tracking how am I showing up? What are the ways in which I construct my world, right? You kind of sense into your own system and kind of notice where that is, where that arrives. Yeah? And so when we're sitting across from our clients, we're asked to do the same thing, to actually hold space for them inside of our systems and notice, what is this person that I'm constructing partially and partly quite true? What am I observing about them? What information am I noticing? What am I gaining? What am I understanding about them? A number of instructions of like how to do this, how do we work with pain, how do we work with this person who's arriving in our body. Suzuki Roshi is, maybe you know him, he's a teacher of mine. Stay close and do nothing is one of the instructions. To get quite close without this tendency to try to fix, change, or make it go away. To get close and to explore. To really stay with what's happening in the client as it's happening. And to set your assumptions aside. Sometimes in the session, I'll notice my thoughts will go quickly. Like, oh, I think this means this and this and this about their life. I'm going to just, like, I assume this and this and this. And it's to take those assumptions that arise naturally, or those judgments, and to actually place them on the back burner, and not to impose them on the client. Rather than making assumptions and acting as if we know the other, is to become curious. You know, who is this person? And break. They want in. They want in the room. Only 80 tickets. All 80 tickets are gone. They can't come. So it's this process of noticing, right? Noticing your own systems. Of being curious about the other. You know, how was that for you when your phone went off? What happened in your body? What happened in our bodies? You know, and there could be judgments. That's her daughter calling. You know? But instead of just jumping straight to the judgment, is to be curious about actually like this human, their humanness. And in so many ways, they're otherness than us. The population I work with, I primarily work with couples, and I work around topics of sexuality. And sometimes things come up that are very different than my own worldviews and my own values. And sometimes the topics are quite challenging. Right? Someone might be expressing something that's just outside of my understanding. Huge. For a break, somebody asked me, she was saying, you know, client was expressing helplessness, and that's not a sensation that I actually know too much about in my system. And it's so interesting, this model that you're actually asking that person, how does this show up in your body for you? You know, rather assuming that her experience of helplessness is the same as my experience of helplessness. Because maybe her experience of helplessness is a lot larger of an experience. But rather than jumping into our own assumptions of what that feels like, it's actually getting curious about the texture of what's actually happening in the moment. What's really here, what's really alive. And so when I'm talking about these clients of mine that are quite triggering or quite challenging sometimes, I will notice my body contract and freeze. And my thoughts will be like, what do I do next? Right? And I'm watching all this happen. I'm watching my thoughts, I'm watching my emotions, I'm watching my physical body. And then holding that close to my heart, stepping still out and saying, what is this like for you? How is that for you? What do you really mean by helplessness? How does that feel? How does that show up for you? What does this remind you of from your past? All these become part of the questions. In this model, less is actually more. I noticed during our practice a little bit that there was just like this type of speed. You know, you guys are so excited to be together. You're chatting, you're quite hard to stop once you begin. But in this model, actually, the task is to really go slow. And so if you notice that your client is getting really, really speedy and really ahead of themselves, it's to even take a deep breath, like, and I'll say to my clients sometimes, I am getting lost. I'm wondering if we can just slow down a little bit. I really want to understand you. As a way of just really slowing. It's hard to get close to the body and the body sensations if people are talking really, really, really fast. And they're telling stories and they're going on to the next thing and they're wanting to actually sometimes in storytelling avoid the body. Avoid what's happening in their system. So we'll be using simple phrases and asking really simple, simple directed questions. Directed some questions.